Hello, this is Dominic from the Jack and Dom Radio Show, a weekly sports radio program, and although we broadcast on professional hardware, we do record our show mostly on my laptop, and sometimes I don't press record right when we start. Some shows will start right in the middle of a topic. Regardless, this show is a work of love and passion for sports with raw and transparent opinions between the two of us. So I hope you all enjoy. This is WUPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. This is the Jack and Dom Radio Show. Just want to let everyone know that the opinions said in the show do not represent the opinions of this radio station or the university. Also, if you so choose, you are able to get the recording of the show on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Also, we are on social media, so if you choose, you can currently find us on Twitter and Facebook. Just look up the Jack and Dom Radio Show. That being said, good evening, everyone. Jack, how are you doing today?
Good evening, Dom. I'm doing okay.
I'm doing okay. I mean, that's the best thing that we can do. Some stuff to talk about. We're going to have a shorter show for today. We'll probably end it a little early. Obviously, there's one big elephant in the room to talk about. But other than that, some small things. I guess, the thing I like to talk about, obviously, our basketball teams doing pretty well. Still in the fight to get the top of the Gilead, but also in the fight for NCAA postseason as well. So we're both men and women 16-6 right now. Both getting 2 victories away at Saginaw Valley State and Wayne State. One little funny thing that happened, some of you might know there was a major accident apparently somewhere in the Upper Peninsula. I don't know where specifically, I wasn't told. But the men's coaches were driving in what is so-called the cat car, or I like to call the Catmobile.
Yeah.
They got stuck in traffic, and it was just miles and miles of cars, and they decided, I don't know, I was just laying in bed, I was on my phone, and they go live on Instagram. I don't know if I forgot if they were using the official NMU or their own, but yeah, they just went on. They just went live.
Did they still win the game?
Yeah, they won. They won their away games.
Oh, this was on the way to the away game. Okay, no, I didn't know if it was on the way back.
This was on the way back.
Oh, okay, so they already won the game. And they were on the way
this is on the way back. This was I think this was literally yesterday. Either that or the day before. Goodness.
I am really excited though, because these are probably our two best teams at NMU right now. I think, like at least as far as spring sports go, I think
winter sport or something like
winter,
that.
Spring,
varsity sports,
whatever you want to call it, most successful at this moment in time, varsity sports. Speaking of
rumor is this is satire, but rumor is they're still stuck somewhere out there in the wilderness. No, they made it back. My devious plan of having them stuck in the middle of nowhere for an indefinite period of time for then me to take over the team and run it to the ground has been foiled. No, how dare they find their way back. No, just kidding. That's all. I literally just made that up.
Yeah, that's
yesterday as was going on. But
women's wrestling fights valiantly against Grand Valley, but unfortunately loses 27-18
it was
on senior day.
First time I went to a wrestling match.
How was it?
I kind of didn't know what was going on. I mean, it was mainly like a job thing. I just needed to be there for like the first 15, 20 minutes just to make sure the audio was working well.
Was it fun to watch?
A little bit.
Okay.
There was some. Apparently, there's Greco-Roman wrestling.
Oh yeah. Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, and then there's regular wrestling.
That's exciting though.
Yeah,
something new.
It is, and so yeah, and it was in the Vendiment.
Was that Saturday, Sunday?
Oh my, Saturday, because later that day, I went to senior day for women's hockey when we won 7-2.
Woo!
Yeah.
Guess where I was on Saturday, though?
Where were you?
Enemy territory.
Where?
Enemy territory.
Enemy territory. What is
Enemy territory.
Oh, you were in Houghton.
I was.
What were you doing in Houghton?
I was at Winter Carnival. And you know what?
What was that? What yeah, you never told me about this.
We hate the school up north. We do. When it comes to athletics, I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Okay.
I hope we cream them 7-0 every time. But the Winter Carnival statues, my gosh, they are so great.
Oh yeah, they have a whole
and the campus up there
man.
is nice because you don't have to walk 25 minutes to get to the Northern Center. Everything is close together and connected. And
is it?
The sky bridges are actually connected in like places that you actually need a sky bridge, not Hedgecock to the TFA and other completely useless locations.
Yeah.
Not a sports thing. I just want to point out that I was in enemy territory.
No,
didn't wear
fine.
my NMU hat this time. I didn't want to get any hate from the local fans. But
it's
yeah,
fine.
it was cool to be up there. And like,
well.
I have a lot of respect for them as a school, as a campus. It's just when rivalry comes around, I really into it.
Were you able to see like a lot of students there? Or was it just the general public?
It was mostly just the public sculptures.
Okay.
Like a combination of everybody, and there was some fireworks too at the end of the night. That was
okay, because I took a tour a few years ago with some of my computer science classmates for a computer science tour.
Yep.
And yes, it is true. It is literally 80% men. I'm not joking. I go to like the commons area. It's 80% men.
But
I'm like,
so that was kind of an
oh
aside.
wow, that is real.
It was just cool to be up there.
That was real, yeah.
But back to more sports, although I would argue ice sculpture making should be a sport.
It's definitely an art.
It takes skill.
And there's definitely, I do know I think there are some like smaller competitions where some like recognition.
But I mean, if robotics can count as a sport, I feel like you can stretch it to ice sculpture design. I mean, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
But anyway. Back to more relevant sports. We have men's varsity hockey, 1-1 at Lake Superior State, 3-2 loss, game 1, 3-2 overtime win in game 2.
Yeah.
Sitting at 5-24-1, they are all but eliminated from CCHA playoff contention at this point. But it is nice to see that instead of losing 4-0, 5-1, or like 6-0, it's 3-2, it's 2-1, it's 2-0. Like, the team is more competitive and seems like it's gelling.
You want me to throw you a crazy stat?
Oh boy, here we go.
We have more away wins than home wins.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Just by one, but still.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier in the semester when this team was really down in the dumps. Like, we're still bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But when we were really down in the dumps earlier in the semester, we had like one win, for that long period of time.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how you have to build culture, and I think getting closer games is a step in the right direction. And being competitive, like we've almost beat Tech several times, we beat Lake State once, we swept Bemidji. Like, it's been a little bit better.
So do you think it would be fair to put the men's varsity hockey team D tier instead of F tier?
Yes,
I would bump them up.
Because I think the expectations were low coming into the season. I think they are making progress. There's a big difference when you look at the hockey team where you see that the games are getting at least semi-closer and like semi-competitive.
We've gotten a few wins.
There was the 4-0 blowout to Tech. Like, there's anomalies. But if you look at the beginning of the season compared to the end,
yeah,
just to give you a few games from the beginning of the season, you lost 6-1 to Colorado College. 5-3 to Alaska Anchorage, who's one of the worst teams in the country. Tech beat you by 3 both games. Lake State beat you 5-1 and 5-0. You lost to Augustania by 3 both times. Ferris swept you. Bowling Green swept you.
Yep.
Then you got to the Great Lakes Invitational, where you actually looked good against State, and you looked good against Tech. Then you stole one from Minnesota State. You swept Bemidji. You kept it close on the road.
I always have a hard time pronouncing
Bemidji.
What?
Is it Bemidji? I think
Bemidji. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I always say something different every time I read it.
But you had a game that you almost beat Tech on the road, and I was there, and Tech fans actually thought for a second that they were going to lose that game. Yeah. And NMU really should have won. We had a lot of chances to at the end, or at least gotten to overtime. You did lose 4-0 the second game. You lost an OT to Bowling Green in the first one, and you beat Lake State in OT in the second. So you've either split the series or had at least one close game where you've either gone to OT or almost gone to OT. right?
Yeah.
And the Michigan State loss, which was close.
Considering that at the time they were the number one team in the country.
Right. You really turned the corner starting with the GLI. And actually, you did okay against Ferris State and Bowling Green. You just didn't win any of those.
Yeah. So I think right now it's just, with new coach,
progress.
new players.
Because you went from, losing by 5, losing by 2 against the worst team in the country, losing by 3 both times to Tech, losing by 5 and 4 to Lake State, losing by 3 to Augustania, and now you're winning a few. You have a few bad losses, but they're mostly semi-competitive.
Yes.
At the very
they're gotten
least.
closer, a lot closer.
So, we'll see how they play against St. Thomas to close out the home season, but and then of course against Ferris State on the road. But especially in Ferris State, you've got some opportunities for a couple wins to sort of close out the season. But I want to compare that a little bit to the football team because we talk a lot about the differences in how the culture is. And
yes.
I think playing in close games, right? You had that Lions team that went if I remember correctly, 3-13 or 3-12-1.
Yeah,
it was a rough year, but towards the end of the year, and especially that next year when you went, I think it was 9-7, and you barely missed the playoffs. And you said
that was when the curse of Bobby Lane was broken, and then we just
and
started winning games.
You said screw the Packers, and you kept them out of the playoffs, right?
Yep.
So
exactly, nothing to play for except for pride and good old-fashioned rivalry.
But that's my point: is you kept it close.
Yes,
and the hockey team has kept it close. If you look at the football team this year, 28 to Minnesota Duluth, 20 to Kentucky Wesleyan,
which we should have won,
14 to D3 LaCroix or Lacrosse, I guess.
Lacrosse, yeah.
I like LaCroix; it just sounds better. Reminds me of the
sounds like wine.
Yeah, the wine. Alma, you lost by 17.
That should have been a win.
Grand Valley, you lost by, I'm doing some quick math in my head here, 49.
1 billion points. That one,
GVSU took their foot off the gas. You still lost by 32.
Yeah.
You lost to conference bottom feeders Roosevelt, which is just not.
That should have been a win.
That was terrible.
The way that we lost that game reflects the team and the season.
That was bad. Okay, you lost to Tech by 30. Ferris by 46.
That's not a rivalry at this point.
Davenport by 21 and Wayne State by 16.
And Wayne State, their only wins was against Roosevelt and us.
Right.
And so that was also another.
You really didn't have success. And
nope.
You can even go back to 2023 just to see, if there were close games. Your closest game other than Roosevelt, which is simply inexcusable, was 16 points.
Yeah.
You have 37 to Minnesota Duluth last year. You somehow lost to Lake Erie College at home by 3.
I was there.
Lacrosse beat
that
you
was nuts.
Yeah.
Their players
going crazy, I'm sure.
were just bad sportsmanship.
Trucking
through our.
I'm not surprised though. It's what happens when you upset a team like that.
Cheerleaders, fights almost happened. Things were getting thrown. Cops got involved.
But
next game,
you've got Lacrosse by 31, Quincy by 18, Ferris State by 75, Davenport by 16. That one wasn't so bad. Tech by 62.
Their only conference win.
But by 62.
That was
game.
Tech's only conference win.
You lost by 59 to GVSU, 24 to Wayne State, 45 to Saginaw Valley State, and 24 to Northern State. So you got a little bit closer. You didn't lose 78-0, but you also still got blown out by at least 2 scores in every game except for Roosevelt, and that one you had no excuse not to win. That's like if NMU hockey played against, a D3 team.
The club team.
Right, the club team. You can't lose.
Which is mid, that. But that's relative to their competition.
And the next closest game was 17 points, 16 points. So, not great. So that's the big difference is, hockey's got more games, but, they're losing most games. They've got games they lose by 5 goals. You multiply that by 7. Football team had some games they lost by 35-42. But the difference is they're losing a lot of games by 1 goal. They're forcing them into overtime. They're winning on the road. That's a big difference from the football team. And I think the hockey team, maybe not hockey fans, because I, as a hockey fan, expect the team to lose and I don't go to the games and I expect them to do bad.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do notice from the 2 games that I've been at, especially the Tech away game, the team has belief that they can go out on the ice even though they are incredibly overmatched in terms of talent, in terms of team chemistry, maybe coaching, we do have a good coach, but obviously in his first year, and so even though he's an alum, you got to readjust to being at Northern and being a head coach.
He's not just an alum. He has friends that are other alums that have a lot of money.
Well, also he was a national championship winner, so he knows how to win at NMU. But, you have to get back into the NMU life. You have to get back into the community. You've got to get used to the area again, get used to the players. So
Wait, are we talking about hockey?
Yes.
Oh, I was talking about football.
No.
Okay, never mind.
So, for hockey, right, you have to readjust. So it takes time. Even, the players, it takes time for them to mesh and gel and figure things out. But it does for a coach, too, to institute his scheme, to figure out his lines, and also to get reacclimated to the area that is Marquette.
Yeah.
And the expectations that we have regarding hockey as a hockey town in a massive hockey state. Detroit is literally the hockey town, right?
Yes.
So that takes time. But what you're seeing is even in games where we lose, most of them, there's sometimes we just lose 6-1, 5-0. There's been a couple of those lately, but less, and that's important. But a lot of games, we go out there on the ice, and I think we play above our skill level. Because this team, talent-wise, and this is no shade to the players, right? They are all out of the portal, guys that haven't played. It's nothing against the players.
Class.
They are extremely hard workers. I'm not discounting the players, but it's everybody's first year in the program except for one player. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you got the guys that were left in the transfer portal at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So versus a team like Tech that got a top 20 recruiting class, or Minnesota State that recruits top players nationally that have had these coaches and programs in place for a while, you are at a talent disadvantage because of that adjustment, right? We had the number 1 recruiting class, and we kept, I think, maybe one guy from that class when Grant left, right? So
everyone left?
Yes, everybody left. I think we kept one guy. I think we kept Rasmus Larson, maybe 1 or 2 others, but the star guys left, which, for the record, our star goalie is at Western. He's one of the top 5 goalies in the country. And
I didn't know that.
Don't know where some of our other stars went. Obviously, Benny and some other star players left.
Benny went to, I think, UMass.
UMass Lowell. You've got, I believe, Shalane at Arizona State. Some guys left, some of our key contributors. And you were left with 1 player and 1 or 2 recruits. So nobody, nothing. You built the team from scratch at the last minute, right, when you got
with the Island of Misfit Toys, basically.
It's not even just the Island of Misfit Toys. These are all good players that deserve D1 spots. Yes. And some of the freshmen that he's recruited have been really good.
Yeah.
We've got some genuine
scores. No dig. It's no dig on the players.
It's no dig. It's just,
the reality that we're facing right now.
Right. And I think a lot of these freshmen that you got at the last minute and some of the underclassmen that you got in the portal are going to absolutely develop. And there's guys like Ryan Ouellette that are very, very good.
Yes.
Not discounting their talent at all. I'm just saying you haven't had the time to mesh the team together. It's year 1. You've got a coach that hasn't been a head coach in a hot minute. And he was a head coach at Alaska Anchorage, which is code for you're basically set up to fail because they're one of the worst teams in the country and have been for decades. So, it's a new experience for everybody. And it takes time to develop that chemistry. But what you're seeing is even though they're against the odds, right, they're picked to lose every game. They're picked to be last or second to last in the CCHA. They were projected to do really bad. And maybe, NMU students, we have high hopes. We hope they do good. But I think reality check, none of us... You can go back in the show archives if you want and find my picks. I'm sure I thought this team would do really well. But
I didn't think...
Expectation-wise, right, you knew it was going to be a rough year. Yeah. But they go out there in most games, not all, but most games, they go out there, they play really hard, they have really good team chemistry. You can tell these guys are close on and off the ice.
Yep.
You can tell they respect the coaching staff. And you can tell that even when they're going against way better teams, when they're going against Bowling Green,
Michigan State,
when they're going against Michigan State, when they're going against Michigan Tech, when they're going against Minnesota State, you either see them play highly competitively, or in the case of Minnesota State, in the case of Bemidji, you see them win.
Yes.
And it's hockey, underdogs win a couple games. NMU was not going to go 0-30-1. 0-30-0.
Yeah.
But it's really good to see that despite the fact that they're still losing a lot of games, it seems like they're figuring some stuff out. And you now have the time to actually get the guys you want out of the portal. You're starting to develop an NIL collective. Yeah. You've started to be able to develop your own recruiting classes. It's not just the guys you find at the last minute or the guys you inherit from your predecessor. They now have time to build. And the fact that I'm seeing that team chemistry on and off the ice, the fact that the coaching staff is well respected by And I think it's important that the fans respect them too. I think that's a big aspect of it too. We continue, even though I'm not attending the games, like I try and be as supportive as I can as this team.
I'm going to try to go to at least one more home game. I know we have 2 more home games left.
Yeah, they are this weekend, I believe.
No, I think it's...
Maybe there's a bye week this week. But
there is. There is a bye week.
It's next weekend. But the important part is, like, the students are still going to games. People are buying in. They know it's going to be a rough year. But they see the progress that this team is making. And it's really exciting to see.
11 days against...
I hate St. Thomas, by the way.
Yeah,
the last time I went to a St. Thomas game, they got awfully
they were D3
dirty.
For a while, but
they got really
something
dirty.
happened.
They're leaving this conference, by the way, next year, too. So additional hatred.
They just joined the conference.
Right, they're going to another conference. They're a private school. They've got a lot of money. So they're going to different conferences. But point being is just...
But they skipped division.
Point being, despite the fact that we continue to lose or win in OT or just not compete the way I want us to, I am impressed by the last month and change of how they haven't really turned a corner. You know, we're not winning a lot of games, but how you're starting to see how things can look once you get more talented guys in here, once you take the guys you have here and help them gel a little bit better and help them develop. Like, unlike the football team where I'm just not seeing a lot of hope. I want there to be hope. Like, don't get me wrong. I crap talk the football team more than almost anybody. But we want them to be good. We really do. We want the coaching staff to succeed, despite the fact that we called for them to be fired last year many times.
Right after the Alma game,
we want them to succeed, okay? Yeah. We're not sitting here and trying to hate. But there's just a big difference, and I don't think it's any one specific person. I don't think it's the coaching staff itself. I just think it's the culture that's been built, both because we're a hockey school and just because of the way things are going.
Yes.
I think the hockey team is going to succeed where the football team is currently failing. And we can put that to the test next year. But I'm just seeing a lot more growth.
And with my sources that I will not share because they will come after me with a rage of 1,000 suns. You're definitely right. You know, the vibe in the football program versus the hockey program completely different. And even though when I made my tier list for the first half of the year, right at the end of the fall semester, I both had the football team and hockey team F tier. What it doesn't show you, like in between the lines, is they are there for completely different reasons.
Right,
and so, but like that's why, like right now, if I were to remake this tier list right now, which by the way I'll do at the end of the season,
exactly.
D minus, D.
I would even give them a solid
minus.
D because
that's where I put them.
The
right
expectations were the floor. We were predicted to be last or second to last. I think it was last by coach by.
Well, I don't put teams. I don't put teams where they're at because of expectations.
But I do think for a first year of a program,
yes,
that is fair.
Yes,
you are slightly below expectations. If C is a passing grade or the expectation, you are slightly below that. You are a D. You failed the class. But we saw signs that you were understanding some of the material.
Yeah.
Maybe when you retake this class next fall, I guess it's next winter because hockey starts. I guess it is next fall, sort of. Later in the fall. You see signs that, okay, maybe this team moves to a C on that report card. You know, that GPA is not going to tick up right away. You're not going to be a 4.0 student. Maybe never. You know, this program isn't in a place where it can compete, I don't think, with like an MSU, Michigan. That's just unrealistic. You're not going to be an A on the report card. But I don't think it's unrealistic for a couple seasons to say a C, a B. You start competing in the CCHA, you start doing a lot better. The signs are there. And I continue to be impressed with how certain young players are developing. I continue to be impressed with the amount of events that they're doing in Marquette and like how engaged they are with the local community.
Yes.
Like that I think is very important.
I hear it about a lot.
Because if you want to get fan support, you also got to do fan service. Those go hand in hand, right? You've got to do those kinds of events. You've got to keep fans engaged, especially when you're a bad team, right? You don't want a Lions paper bag scenario, right?
That was funny. And if it I would bring this up. I'm not going to say who, but I've showed pictures to other athletes and other staff members of other teams, multiple other teams, not just a single one. So I'm not singling anybody out.
Right.
And they're all like, yeah, I get that person. I get what
Yeah,
I get it.
but
I would do it, but
I think-
I work for the university.
I think it's exciting, the direction that they're moving in.
Yeah.
And I think next year you raise expectations a little bit. You say, okay, we've got 5 wins through 30 games.
Do we have the schedules for next year?
I don't believe so. You'd have to look. But
Okay, because
it's
I
going
want
to
to
be
know.
it's almost the same teams typically that you play,
Okay.
with a little bit of variation in the non-conference opponents. But I think the only major changes is you'll probably play, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Augustania one more time, and you won't play St. Thomas because they'll no longer be in the conference. But I'm happy with where the program is at, and I think you're kind of at the level now where you have 5 wins through 30 games.
Yes.
I think next season, I don't think it's unrealistic to ask for 12, 13.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
still
I see where you're
lower end
at.
of the CCHA, but qualify for a lower end playoff spot. I don't think you're going to win a playoff series. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for you to be no more than like 4 or 5 games below 500. Somewhere in the ballpark of little below 500 in the CCHA, I don't think is ridiculously unrealistic. With Lake Superior losing a lot of players, we will be better than Ferris, I hope to God, next year. Bowling Green losing some players. You know, Tech is still going to be better than us. Minnesota State's still going to be better than us. Like, stop. Like, don't.
Dream on.
Right, dream on, but we're not going to win the conference next year.
Yeah.
But I think doubling or tripling our win total through 30 games is absolutely realistic. So I'm optimistic. Unlike the football team, where I'm really not optimistic. But
Yeah, like I said, yeah. So
yeah,
until I see the football schedule for next year,
well, even if it's an easy schedule, I'm just not seeing any indication that we can beat
there were
anyone
3
right
teams last year that we should have won.
now. Right, but we're just not the
And-
way we're playing and the culture that we've built and the schemes that we're running.
When
None of
we're
it
running
works.
triple option 90% of the time.
I look at the hockey team. I don't know a lot about hockey scheming, I'll be honest. I love the sport of hockey. I love playing the NHL. I watched all of the NHL playoffs last year.
We love playing in the NHL. We got ourselves a professional hockey player right here, folks.
I said NHL like the hockey
video game?
The video game, not the real NHL.
Okay.
But I'm a huge Red Wings
You
fan.
don't strategize.
I
at
watch
all?
the
You-
games.
You just do any have an
NHL, I just don't know enough about it.
Okay.
I also am a really big fan of the Oilers because, in case you don't know, I'm German, so I really love Leon Draisaitl. But
Okay.
I do truly enjoy hockey, and from what I know about it, the limited amount, I know a little bit about schemes, not a ton. I know about kind of how lines work and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
they've really figured out their lines, and they've kind of figured out how they want to play, and that's important. You've built an identity, and it seems like it's a decent one. Versus the football team, I see the identity you've built, and it's very defeatist. Like, you'll be down 30 and you'll still be running a triple option. Like, that's giving up.
When the triple option got you in the
Right, the
situation
triple
in the
option
first
got
place.
you in that hole.
Yes.
Like,
Because
they don't have the same team morale. And I genuinely hope that'll change. But just based on the last 2 seasons, I'm not getting an indication that it will.
I don't think we're getting a new offensive coordinator.
No, but I'm just hoping that they will change something.
Yeah.
Even if you like running the triple option, you can change that.
It
No.
should be if your offensive scheme is like a sundae or like a banana split, right?
You can put different toppings on it.
The triple option should be the sprinkles. It should not be the banana.
Here's the thing,
Or the
though,
ice
is,
cream.
Like, if you look at, and I'm not
And
saying,
it's like everything but the sprinkles is the triple
but
option.
if you look at the most successful coaches at any level of football, and this goes for hockey too, since
Yeah.
it's hockey season, not football season, the people that can adjust their schemes to their players, or
And to the times too.
to the times, but also maybe they did adjust their scheme to the players. Maybe they do have the players for triple option. The third really important thing that coordinators can do is adjusting their schemes when it doesn't work on the fly. For example, obviously the Lions' end of season was heartbreaking, but that team consistently shifted between letting Jared Goff throw it 52 times a game and saying, "Here you go, Jahmyr Gibbs," every single time.
Mhm.
Right? Michigan, not this year, but last year when we had an actual quarterback, you could switch between Penn State, where you gave Blake Corum the ball 17 straight times, and Alabama, where you let J.J. McCarthy win you that game. Washington also had a heavy dose of the passing game, right? good offensive coordinators know how to change it up when their team needs it to change. So I'm interested to see if the football team can do that. Because you cannot go out this season with the same offense and same playbook and try and run triple option again. Okay.
What's the definition of insanity?
The same thing over and over and over, which is what they're doing.
Something different.
Right.
Well, for anyone who is just joining us, this is WUPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. This is the Jack and Dom radio show.
More football to come.
Yeah, let's talk about something really good. The elephant in the room, the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
I told a friend group of mine, I said, I will always root against the following teams in the Super Bowl. You'll agree with some, I have a feeling you'll disagree with others.
Okay.
I think you'll give me no hassle if I say I boo the Green Bay Packers if they ever make a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
I was going to say the Bears, but they'll never be there again, so I don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
But Bears, if you really want to count.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
All of America's with me on that one.
Yep.
Here's where it gets a little bit more surprising.
Okay.
The San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
After what they did to us. Okay?
Yes.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
I just don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay? And then the Philadelphia Eagles are also one of them. Their fan base frustrates me.
Yes,
I just don't like them. I think they're cocky, but we've talked about this before, and I want to get this moving because we've got so many topics that we will probably have to save for next week. So, short answer, Eagles win because the Chiefs didn't do anything until late in the third quarter.
Oh, my
when
goodness.
The Eagles put the backups in. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble for Mahomes.
Yeah. Crazy.
You mentioned, is the GOAT conversation over? I say absolutely, because there was never a GOAT conversation to start with. At least there shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
When Brady and Mahomes were together, guess who won pretty much every matchup?
Tom Brady.
And maybe Mahomes wins 3 in a row or 4 in a row down the road. But until proven otherwise, he's nowhere close. And this game just confirmed...
You're not Eli Manning. You didn't... You know.
This game just confirms my pre-existing notions.
Yep.
But I know you want to talk about the city of Philly and all that, but I think we got to stick to a couple other things.
As someone who works for audiovisual services, who is now a multimedia production major.
Here's my audible sigh, what's about to come.
Oh, the score bug, which is like the lower third in
it's the scoreboard at the bottom of the TV.
That was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
Fire the
TV
entire
production.
graphic design team, Fox.
Whoever not designed it, whoever approved.
Well, both. Both were terrible. Why approve it? Why design it?
No, like
that was bad.
Like,
but
I'm telling you, my superiors in the people who work here
were they just utterly appalled?
They would not. If I came to them and was like, "This is our score bug,"
they
would say no.
They
would say no.
But
they would say no.
I think it was embarrassing for national television.
The font that they used, the bold font, looked like Kmart.
That is funny to me. I do want to touch. We've got a shorter show today because
Eagles fans did destroy their city. Looking on social media, they obviously did the whole 9 yards.
Happens every time they win or lose.
Destroy light poles, cars gone, people fighting.
This reminds me of the Michigan State couch burning in 2022 when you guys overreacted.
And somehow. There were people that stole horses, police horses. That's a felony.
Right,
That's stealing like a cop car.
It's ridiculous.
They stole horses.
Like, I'm all for celebrating. I'm all for celebrating, but come on.
They stole horses. In Detroit, this wouldn't happen.
Right, don't destroy property and steal things. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just a game, okay?
Oh.
I love the Detroit Lions as much as anybody else.
Yes.
And I would go crazy if they won a Super Bowl. But I'm not destroying a city.
No.
Okay.
Power rankings.
I'm going to skip your power rankings. I'm so sorry. Only because there are some really important things that happen.
Well, I just want to go through the 5.
Quick, go.
All right. As obvious, Eagles, number 1. You win the Super Bowl, you're number 1. Chiefs, number 2.
Okay, I agree.
Bills, number 3.
I agree.
Ravens, number 4.
Fine. I'll agree.
And Lions, number 5.
It's Washington. They beat us. That's just how it happens.
Yeah, and then got shacked.
But they beat us.
Shacked by
They
the
played bad,
Eagles.
but they earned the
If
number
the
5
Lions,
spot.
if the Lions didn't have a bad day,
But
the
they earned
Eagles
it, though.
Lions game went a lot closer.
Maybe, but they earned
That's
it.
my argument.
They got blown out, but they earned it.
All right, what's the
mean-
Lions' state of affairs and according to your?
We will cover that next week
Okay.
because I have some interesting points I want to make. But
All
we're
right.
going to get to, I think, the most important topic that happened this week is our guy, Tom Izzo, did something
Yes.
really cool this week.
He broke the Big Ten what was it? The most
All-time
Big
wins.
Ten all-time wins in the
I
conference.
can't remember if he tied it or broke it.
He broke it. He
Yeah, I
just
think he
broke
broke
it.
it,
He
yeah.
beat Bobby Knight.
Right. So that is huge.
Yes.
And it's awesome to see an NMU alum do that.
Do you remember who he beat for his first Big Ten win?
Oh, I'm going to say it has to be Michigan.
It was Bobby Knight.
Oh, it was?
He beat his first Big Ten win when he first coached Michigan State was against Bobby Knight.
That's
Indiana.
awesome. So,
Yeah.
really cool there. Speaking of Indiana basketball, it's rumored that Michigan's head coach, Dusty May, will go back to Indiana,
Okay.
where he started. I think Michigan is going to pay to keep him, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on after we beat Indiana by 3, which really should have been by 6, but a buzzer beater. Speaking of Michigan MSU basketball, like we talked about
Yeah.
earlier, they are great right now, on absolute fire. Now, I think Michigan's going to lose to Purdue. I know Michigan State's dropped 2 or 3 of their last couple of games. But Michigan State to end the season, the regular season, is going to be phenomenal.
Yes.
Because I think Michigan is underrated at 20, and I think State right now at 11 is slightly overrated. I think they're right about both around 15, or at least they should be. So that's going to be a great game. And I'm super excited for that. We love Big Ten basketball here, and you and I will probably both be, I'm sure, tuning into that.
Hopefully.
So it should be a good game.
Yes.
And then to wrap up, I know we have to leave early. Dom is really excited to, I'm sure, get ready for his esports tournament.
Just a game. It's just
a game.
it's just a regular season game.
Oh yes, Dom will be leaving. We will be leaving early for Dom to make it to his Rocket League game.
Yes.
But to close the show,
And then after that, intramural volleyball. So I have a pack.
Dom's got a nice and busy day. I
Yes.
do not.
I have a busy day.
But I want to touch quickly on the Red Wings and their meteoric turnaround.
Go right ahead.
They were dead in the water, and I had given up on this.
I
team.
remember this.
We
Yes.
were like second or third to last. I was like, it's time to blow it up. It's time to rebuild. Get rid of the GM.
It was like the exact
Get rid of the coach.
opposite compared to the Pistons
Yeah.
last year.
Difference is I was right this time because they fired the coach and turned it around.
Yeah.
Guys, I swear I know things about sports. Crazy.
Yes.
But anyway,
Nostradamus.
they are in the international break right now. I believe it's called. Again, hockey, not my sport. So someone call in and correct me if I'm
Don't call him.
Not right now.
Yeah.
another time. Or say
Tell us
something on
on
our
social
social media.
media.
Yeah. But I believe it's the international break. The Red Wings, since hiring their new coach, have been absolutely insane. They've gone on 2 7-game win streaks, and they've taken themselves from one of the worst teams in the entire NHL to they are currently sitting in 5th in their division. But if you take into account the wild card, they are the second wild card team currently by a point,
Yes.
I believe. Again, not an expert on the NHL. That's what Google tells me. So, meteoric rise for them. And there was some action this week on the trade deadline for the Pistons. The Pistons give up absolutely nothing. They are just, well, I guess some salary cap. But they're a salary cap facilitator for the potentially famous or infamous Jimmy Butler trade that we can cover on another show.
Yes.
But the Pistons, for free, pick up Lindy Waters, nice depth player, nothing special, 6 points a game, but nice depth player. Pistons can never have too many of those. But you know who else you picked up for free? Dennis Schroeder.
Mm-hmm.
15 points per game guy, can come off the bench and pair nicely as the second guard with Jaden Ivey or Cade Cunningham if one of them needs a rest. For free.
Yeah.
And he's a free agent next year, so you carry absolutely no cap obligations next
Yes.
year. That is a shrewd piece of business. And for all the slack I've given that team for being mediocre, this year they look like they're going to make the play-in. I don't know if they're going to win in the play-in, but making the play-in is a step in the right direction. And then next year you hope they can take that next step. But you've now got every Detroit sports team for the first time since I don't even know when, trending in the right direction. I just want to, before we close the show, think back to the last time all 4 Detroit sports teams were going in the right direction. My first thought was 2008, but that was 0-16. 2004.
Usually there'd be like one team that's really good.
2004, you had the Tigers that were really bad. 06.
The Lions were also bad too.
06, I don't think the Lions were good.
Nope.
Do we go back to the 90s?
I think 06, that was when Steve Mariucci got fired, I think.
I think so. 97, where the Red Wings won a championship in 97 or 98. Were the Pistons good in the 90s, or were they on a downturn from the 80s?
I think they were mid.
Okay, so we got to keep going even further back.
The Bulls were, because they took Dennis Rodman.
If we go to when the Pistons won their championships, the Red Wings were good. Were the Lions good in the 80s?
Not really. They're mid.
Have we ever had a time in this sports history, we'll say since like 1960, 1970, when you actually had like the NFL get created?
Yeah.
Have we ever had all 4 sports teams be good at once?
No.
No, I know it's a bit of a stretch. The Red Wings and Pistons are not good yet.
But they're on the up and up.
The Tigers only won like a playoff series. So not yet. But they're all on the
But they came out of nowhere. The Tigers came out of nowhere.
They're all doing pretty well. I cannot remember, and I don't know if there's ever been a time, where all 4 sports teams have been this successful. So, for the first time in a long time, I say we're closing the show on an optimistic note.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that, that's something to think about. But anyway, we do have to end the show early. So, oh my goodness. Yeah. So yeah, just like I always say, the opinions said on this show do not represent the opinions of this radio station or university. If you so choose, if you so choose, you're able to get the recording of the show where you find podcasts, whether it be on Amazon, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We're also on social media. So if you choose, you can currently find us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm going to try to get Instagram set up as well. Just look up the Jack and Dom Radio Show. And this is WUPX 91.5 FM H21 Marquette. We will see you guys next week.